Monday night, and you know what that means. Ringside Heat is on the air on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lex Tan, host and producer of the show. You can always follow me at Lex Tan Media. You can follow the show at Ringside_Heat on all social media. And we have just a great show here for you today. We've got John, we've got Chico, we've got Jose going to be chiming in on different things. So stay tuned for that. And we also are celebrating our 3rd year on the air on News Talk Sauga 960 back on May the 1st. That was our official 3-year anniversary, and this is the first show since then. So, hey, come and celebrate with us. Stay here on Sauga 960 AM, as well on Spotify and YouTube, basically wherever you get your video and your audio podcasts. So there it is right there for you. Now, to start off over here, I want to thank Sauga 960 AM for having us on the air these past 3 years. Thank you to Jyoti. Thank you to Praveen. And thank you to everybody out there in Sauga 960 that does support the show. And thank you to all of you, our listeners and our viewers as well, for being with us and journeying with us over these past 3 years of 135 episodes. I can't believe that's already been this far into it and everything. And we still have more to go. We're just like Pro Wrestling Standoff and New School Wrestling, their show in Stouffville, which is a big hit. First wrestling show in Stouffville since 1976, I believe. We're just getting started. So congratulations to New School Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Standoff. Congratulations as well to Unified Pro Wrestling and Chaos Pro Wrestling for Space Slam. Great night of wrestling. You'll be seeing those on YouTube anytime soon. Now, one thing I also want to say as well too is that 3 years ago on this show, it was the very first show. It was the very, let me say that again. It was the very first show. Jose and John were, looking back on it in the Ringside Heat way back episodes that they've been posting. So thank you so much for that, guys. Really, really appreciate the work that you guys have been doing with that. I mentioned how at its best level, pro wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, wrestling is art. It's an art form like no other. It's theater in the round with a crowd who is just exactly as much a part of the show as the wrestlers actually are. And we actually saw that looking back on those episodes with the Thunderdome era. It was very difficult for the wrestlers to be who they are because there were no crowds there. And the only crowd that they had was piped in crowd noise with screens representing the people who were actually watching the show at the time and how hard that was to actually log in. So it's great to see how well wrestling is doing these days and how beautiful it is to see great crowds in the arenas and the stadiums and just giving all of the great energy to these great performers whom we talk about, whom we admire and who we look up to, depending on your age group as well too, and who we also remember fondly and wish that we could have been in those times where we could cheer them as well again. And you know what, that was the one thing that was one of the things that were great about WrestleMania 40 and the lead up to it is that The Rock gave us that chance again, not just to be in this, to have a nostalgia kind of cheer, but also to be able to engage in a current relevant storyline in which we're cheering, in which we're booing, in which we are all, just feeling everything about what wrestling is at its best and at its worst. It makes you feel. Like, for instance, as I said, 3 words you hear: are you ready? If you smell, and just something just goes off in your head. You hear the glass shatter, you hear the funeral bell toll, and you just go nuts. You know what's coming, and the place goes crazy. Shout out to Bob Cole. Rest in peace, Bob Cole. You watch this collection of men and women do more than just pick each other up, toss each other around, and slap meat. It's the story. It's the character. It's the story of the person behind the character. Where they've come from. Where are they going? What do they want? They make you cheer. They make you chant along. They make you sing. Look at Joe Hendry. Look at Elias, what they've been able to do. Thanks to The Rock again for doing that for the Rock concerts. Maybe you might even hurl expletives at the wrestlers, or you may hurl expletives with the wrestlers. It's all in fun games and all that sort of stuff. They make you, so in the old days of ECW, they made you throw chairs into the ring because, hey, they wanted chairs, and boom, everybody responded. only the art form of wrestling is able to do that. And why? Because we want to be entertained. The wrestlers, the performers, they want to entertain us. They want to make us feel those things. They want us to tell that story. They want us to hear that story on the microphone. They want us to experience that story in the ring. Why do we keep watching? Because wrestling truly is an art form like no other in this world. And we are so thankful that we get a chance to appreciate it and to be even a part of it sometimes. And also be able to comment on it as well too. So that's what this show's for. And whatever you need, whatever you want to tell us, whatever you want to say to us, don't just it's great that guys like Justin come out and say and meet us up in person and say, hey, I thought this, I thought that. What did you think of this? That's great. We love the conversations like that. But we also want you to reach out online because Jose's got got a reel coming in, and I think you're going to be very, very entertained by to see what we're going to do to get y'all to listen and to get y'all to subscribe to Ringside Heat on YouTube, on Spotify, and all that. That being said, it's been an amazing 3 years. We are just getting started, and we will be bigger, better, and badder than ever before. And we're going to be, up on those top podcasts and radio shows out there, along with Busted Open, along with Van Vliet, along with all of those real cool wrestling personalities, because that's exactly what we want. That's exactly what you want as well too, and it's exactly what you need. That's what you want. Wrestling talk with Ringside Heat. And we're going to get to that when we come back after these promotional considerations on Ringside Heat, Sauga 960 AM. Stay tuned. Don't dare miss it. Welcome back to Ringside Heat on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. Lex Tan alongside Jose Taboada, Chico Nuguid, and John Dawson. We are here to talk wrestling with all y'all, and it's going to start right about now. Guys, welcome.
Happy 3 years, fellas.
We have a toddler.
3 years.
We
have a toddler. We are.
Oh my god! Wow, yeah. 3 years of Ringside Heat, huh? That's I didn't think we'd last this long. So great! It's great.
We just started walking.
Yeah.
Look at that. It who would have known that? We come this far, and at the same time, who would have known that? Starting the show back in 2021 took us to WrestleMania. So that's awesome. That's insane. So congrats to everybody, especially to Lex, for setting this all up. And
that's right.
We continue on. We carry on. So we'll see what the next 365 days will bring us.
Mm-hmm. Possibly bring us to another WrestleMania in Las Vegas. Maybe not. Who knows? Well, at the time of recording right now, we don't know. But then by the time this airs and by the time this is on, we will know, and we'll figure something out.
Well, The Undertaker might know, apparently.
I mean, if we quickly want to touch upon that, I mean, it looks like all signs are Las Vegas. I don't want to say, hey, it's Las Vegas, and then when this airs Sunday night, all of a sudden it's in Texas, right? So it looks like all signs are pointing to Texas, and if it's to Texas, wow, to Vegas,
wow.
And if it is Vegas, no, I'll leave it in there. If it is Vegas, boy, what a destination! It's been a hot city for a lot of events. Super Bowl 58 recently. Formula One now has a Grand Prix running all over there. So
the Stanley Cup was rewarded over there as well too.
It was indeed. So if it is Vegas,
TKO affiliation, right? TKO, it's a very huge possibility nowadays because of the merger.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes a lot of sense, which means that event's probably going to be even crazier than usual. I will say though that again, like we don't know where it's at officially at the time of the
Yeah.
recording because we taped these episodes a couple days before air date. I
Peeling
would
back the curtain after 3 years.
we have to.
Kidding.
I would feel bad for Minnesota because it looks like it was in their in their lap for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, the dying days of before this announcement, it looks like it was slipped and taken away from them, which would suck because Minnesota is also a very fun destination. But if the reports are true,
April though,
if the reports are true about
that would be the problem there.
Yeah, if the reports are true about WrestleMania wanting to get away from colder states, which means basically the entire North, that's a tough loss. That's a tough one. So
Well, the other possibility there was to move dates as well. That was being discussed from if some of the reports are to be believed as well. Part of their deliberation in the past couple of months apparently is, whether or not to move it to another month. Like maybe about a month down the road, like in May or something. That was a possibility from what I was hearing. But this is all rumor, innuendo, and whatever. So, I mean, we'll find out pretty soon. Maybe as of broadcast time, we'll already know. But
it looks like the announcement. Looks like the announcement happened before Backlash, because Backlash was yesterday in France, in beautiful Lyon, France, which we will talk about next week because we obviously. No point in previewing it if it already happened. So, but yeah. So regardless, if it is Vegas, congrats to Vegas. Great destination city, and that would be one heck of a party in Sin City.
Oh my god!
Selfishly, I don't want it to be in Vegas because it's more possible for me to go to Vegas just because of a couple of factors that would save a little bit of money too. But if it was in Minnesota, it's automatic pass for me. Like, there's no way I'd be going to Minnesota.
John and we were discussing it on the side, and it looks like we're stepping out of the Vegas race or Minneapolis race, really. But it looks like we were stepping out of the race.
I can't do Vegas. I
don't know what that means, John, but
that
sounds
you
entertaining.
can mean whatever you want it to mean, man. It'd be over. It was nice. It was well lasted, and Johnny no longer exists.
Would it have been a no kids kind of mania since it's in Vegas?
I'm sure they would disappear at some point. I'm not sure if that'd be on purpose or not.
On purpose or not? Wow.
Yeah.
It's like for me, it's just again, Philadelphia took a lot out of me, and sometimes you got to look ahead into your future. You got to be responsible sometimes. So that's skipping. So for me, skipping next year's Mania, skipping the next 3 Manias, maybe, it would probably be the right call for me.
It would be wise. It would be wise.
So,
and that's why I say selfishly, I don't want it to be in Vegas, just because I just have like a little bit more of a chance to go there, and I'd want to save Vegas till I recoup a few things.
In my opinion, your reasoning to not go is so I can hold on to the title of being the only 2-time WrestleMania attendee. So I don't know what you're talking about, you being selfish. We're not even thinking about me. That's a little rude. That's inconsiderate.
Well, I said selfish, so I wasn't thinking about you. Not at all. Exactly. You just said what I said. There you go.
I'm just saying. You gotta consider me. I would like to have the title as the only 2-time WrestleMania attendee for a decade.
Well, I mean, if it is going to be, as for me, if it's going to be in Las Vegas, there might be a challenge to your title over there. We might tie, because regardless if you guys aren't going to go, I'd still like to go maybe as a media person.
Solo Mania, that's cool, man.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'd only probably be there for. I'd only probably be there for the night. I'd like fly to Vegas, and arrive there on Saturday morning, get one hotel room, stay the night, go WrestleMania 1 or WrestleMania Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday, come back to Toronto right afterwards.
Yeah, right, buddy.
No, seriously, I did that for Whose Line Is It Anyway back in January of last year.
Okay, but that was
this is Vegas. You're gonna come back married, like it'll be a mess.
That was in Burbank, California. That was in Burbank, California.
He probably passed by the Godfather's Gentlemen's Club.
Oh, gee. Okay, Chico went there. Well, next topic of conversation.
If I'm spending money for WrestleMania, I better well damn go.
Next thing we'll see, Lex has a residency somewhere. Just pulling these next.
And he's a
wave.
show tunes
That's it.
kind of guy. This
Yeah.
guy. So I mean,
You're
he
done.
would
You're
set up like a few nights, and he would
Lex,
do the show.
Well,
Take it from
considering
three
every
people here. Okay, I've never been to Vegas. Chico, have you ever been to Vegas?
A couple times.
You've been. John, have you?
I have avoided it for a
Okay,
reason.
regardless,
Two
you have three people, whether they've been to Vegas or not, know about Vegas and tell you you sound like a fool if you think you're gonna red eye a WrestleMania trip.
Right,
in
Red Eye of
Vegas.
Mania,
I
Vegas.
Vegas
just went
is
to
not-
Vegas for the afternoon. It was
Like,
I went
Vegas
to-
is one.
went to
Obviously,
Mass and
Vegas is
came
Vegas,
home.
but WrestleMania, I probably should have flipped those two around. But come on, there's no way you're gonna red eye a WrestleMania. I think
I would be
us-
impressed if you did. I'm not gonna lie.
I'd
just don't think
want
it's
to
gonna happen.
book like a week with Mania sandwiched in the middle. So I mean,
I think I'd be
That's what I wanted.
disappointed in Lex if he tried to red eye WrestleMania. I would be disappointed in you.
Okay.
Because
Ooh.
you're again.
Challenge accepted?
You no, that's not.
because what? Because what, Jose? Go on,
Because
go on.
like you know now, you understand that there is more to this week than just a show, than just a 2-night show. You know, there's all the fun stuff around. And again,
Oh yeah. Oh,
what sounds more attractive, a WrestleMania in Philadelphia or WrestleMania in Las Vegas? Come on,
yeah.
you know what's a more
Hmm.
entertaining city. There's no way
Mhm.
you red eye a flight to Vegas and not do anything else in Vegas other than WrestleMania. Like there's just no way.
Can't wait
Again,
to see. Can't wait to see all the commentators in togas. Caesar's Palace. I'm sorry, I couldn't even hold the laughter.
Hey, maybe by this time next
Muting
year, I'll
myself.
be the commentator in the toga. Who knows?
AKA JR 1993. Okay, there you
Yeah,
go.
I know. I have dived. I know exactly what
yes,
you're talking
WrestleMania 9
Yeah.
at Caesar's Palace, which I feel like
was in a parking lot. If
Yes.
you watch some footage,
Yes.
it's crazy what they did there.
it's funny because I keep forgetting that if it is Vegas, Vegas would be a 2-time WrestleMania host,
Yeah.
and you forget about WrestleMania 9 because it's a forgettable
This would be
WrestleMania.
yeah,
Mhm.
this would be a whole.
I know it's Chico.
Well,
I know it's Chico's personal
one of my
go-to because it was
earliest
his first
ones,
one.
right?
Yeah, right. So
like it's burned in my brain.
no, of course, yeah. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying that I even like I think I was like writing some stuff. I was telling myself, okay, Vegas gets his first Mania. No, it doesn't. It ain't his first WrestleMania, but
No, it wouldn't be.
it's a second. Again, it
It'll
looks
be
like
its first
heading
good
up.
WrestleMania. Possibly.
Imagine,
Your title for your
um,
article, Jose, has to be "Dust Off the Togas." We're headed back.
If
imagine
it's in
imagine
Vegas.
one of the events is in the, what do you call that, the thing with a video screen on the outside,
The Sphere.
the Sphere. That's it. Imagine one of the events
that's-
there.
I mean,
I
see,
don't know what
look-
they would do there though.
See, look, like that's what makes like this destination city such an interesting
Yeah.
choice.
Very unique.
I presume like all events are at T-Mobile Arena, but
Weird.
the convention, I would pick the Sphere, 100%. I would see what I
Yeah.
can do with the Sphere.
Art would be nuts.
It would be
Something,
great.
maybe the kickoff at the Sphere, maybe.
Maybe,
You know, they have a couple of kickoff things, you know.
maybe,
And then it's like, and then they show video all around the Sphere. That's crazy, man. Just yeah.
I don't know, but
Holy
for now
AR.
for now, at least for us at the time of this recording, we wait to see what happens. For you all, Sunday night, you are either looking at flights or getting excited that you're gonna save money. So either or option coming your way at this time.
There you go. There you go.
Ringside Heat on Newstalk Saga 960 AM on YouTube, on Spotify, and your favorite podcatchers. Lex Tan alongside Jose Taboada at Taboada93, Chico at Coco Collects, and John at John Dawson Music. We're talking about, we were just talking about WrestleMania next year. And yeah. You know, we're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we will talk about Ronda Rousey. We'll talk about Joe Hendry. We'll have a little potpourri segment over here, and just shoot on what's going on with the rest of the business right now, and all the fun gossip that's going on. We'll be back after these promotional considerations. Welcome back to Ringside Heat on Newstalk Saga 960 AM. Lex Tan alongside Jose at Taboada 93, Chico at Coco Collects, aka the Pundertaker, as given to him as the nickname given to him by one friend of the show, Jimmy Corderas, as well at John Dawson Music. John Dawson, gentlemen, it is it's a fun time for wrestling, obviously, right now, not just in WWE, not just in AEW. Well, AEW is getting a little bit more fun in some ways, and then some ways just ugh. And Impact Wrestling, and this segment,
TNA.
let's talk. Yeah, it's a TNA. There you go. Look at that, the TNA expert right over there, Chico at Coco Collects, who apparently he's abdicated that now to Colin, because Colin wants something else to watch these days. Anyway, so but what's happening right now is that it again, lots of good things going on right now, not just in the big three companies, but also in the indies. But one person I'd like to start off by talking about this segment is Joe Hendry, and just like his catchphrase, one of his catchphrases, "I believe in Joe Hendry." My goodness gracious, it's he just keeps getting better and better and better. Congratulations to Joe for making the top 10 on Apple Music charts, and for a time he was actually trending higher than Taylor Swift and Beyonce, which is pretty phenomenal.
Pretty hilarious too.
Yeah,
it's friggin' Joe Hendry.
exactly.
I will say that I don't know if did you listen to any interviews, Mr. Tan, on the after he shot up the charts?
No, haven't seen that yet, but I did see the segment you sent me about him, playing the guitar in the ring, and then and one of the
it was supposed to be an apology to AJ Francis. And
that's
Rich
right.
Swann.
That's right.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be. Yeah, no, sorry. We're on StreamYard, pulling the curtain back again. And sometimes when you make certain gestures to the camera, apparently it does things. So,
what? How did that happen?
Like a peace sign and like a thumb.
Anyway,
I've
been using
that's
StreamYard
never
for
happened to me
years.
yet. Always seems to happen to you though.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the Apple of it all. I have no idea what's going on. What were we talking about? Joe Hendry. Okay.
That's right.
And yeah, so apparently Joe Hendry, I guess he chose to upload his song onto Spotify or somewhere on a day when it's not typical for you to release a song.
Mhm.
So I think people tend to do it on Fridays. I think is the
Tuesday. I think it's Tuesdays.
Well, whatever it was, he did it on I think it was a Thursday actually, and then he got messages about like his entrance song like shot up the charts to like number 2 worldwide or something, and whatever it was, it led to even more success for the song because people were already sharing it and were sort of like amused by it, and wrestling fans are gonna be wrestling fans, so it's accidental success making it even more comical and just adding to the lore of Joe Hendry. This is one guy who I feel is very sports entertaining. So I really honestly hope that someday, not too far in the future, that somehow he makes it to NXT and then go from there, because I think he would do a good job like entertaining people. That's what the business is about, is entertainment, and I'm very entertained by the guy.
I haven't heard the song, I will say this, but I've heard it making its rounds and everybody's losing their minds over it. So I feel like I should have already, and I'm surprised that I haven't. But I mean, whatever works, right? I mean, if it kind of reminds you of Elias and when he put up his music on all digital platforms. The problem was it never hit as hard as this.
Yeah, it's weird.
It didn't.
So
and the thing is, they did it professionally in normal conventions.
That's even funnier. So
yeah,
I don't know why this. I have to hear it. I will say that the ignorance is there, but I don't get why we're here. That's my point. I'm just it's hilarious.
That's the thing, is you gotta listen to the song. You gotta listen to the track as to to figure out why.
Familiarizing yourself with his pro wrestling gimmick. Like that's part of appreciating the song. Otherwise, it might not really it might be like, oh, okay, that's about it.
Yeah,
but
and
it plays to his whole shtick, so it's kind of fun.
And it's interesting the way that his pro wrestling gimmick has had to evolve over the years, because when he was in the indies and sometimes and also some of the bigger indies like CZW and I think Insane Championship Wrestling he was a part of as well. he was basically the Weird Al Yankovic of the wrestling industry. So
That is very apt.
Gotcha. Okay.
He writes his own stuff too, eh? So
yeah.
and
So
he makes
I mean,
beats and everything. He's his own producer.
Yeah, I mean, there's in terms of my top 3 favorite Joe Hendry, I guess song parodies he's done. He's done a let's see, there's the one about that he did on Scotty Too Hottie about like he did Living on a Prayer, and he called and he called the worm a shite people's elbow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just his video and song roasting Matt Cardona was freaking hilarious, man. Like it was just so good, because the name of the song that he used to roast Matt Cardona was Edge's BITCH. So it was just really, really funny.
Yeah.
I don't know it much either. I've been following this story all day, but I haven't been able to really sit down and listen to it. These gimmicks are double-edged swords, though, right? I mean, this is a great moment, and this is fun. You always worry. Again, Elias looked good on paper, but then he could just never really, when it comes time to pull the trigger and be the serious guy in the ring, that doesn't always work out. I mean, look at a Danhausen, So it's a really, it seems like a really tough balancing act to take these super gimmicky kind of the moment things and to keep pushing them forward. And sure, people are going to pop for that thing. Eventually you got to do something else with this guy, right? And then so you just hope he doesn't wind up, and I'm sure it's all too young and this is a fun moment, everybody should enjoy it. But these things, we've seen so much of this stuff over the years where it's like these things can be a blessing and a curse.
I think it depends on the character itself, because I mean, like, if or like, so not the character but the individual that's performing the character. Like, if this is what they want to do and this is what they're okay with, then all right, it's gonna soar, right? But I mean,
and because if they want to do it, they'll keep pushing it, right?
Like, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
I guess.
So
what was it? Sorry.
Yeah. So but again, like Elias, I think is the perfect example of that. When when they tried the whole Ezekiel thing, the shade beard and everything, and when they tried to flipping around, it's just like, I don't know how it doesn't really hit. It's rare for like those crazy super gimmicky characters to hit. I mean, Taker is I feel like is a needle in a haystack, to be honest. At the end of the day,
you're right.
Compare maybe Kane as well, but it's tough. It's definitely tough. I can't think like any other examples other than the Undertaker, for example, who kind of.
Sorry, Jose, you could put Foley in there, right? Like,
yeah,
to
but
a point.
Like 3 faces of Foley, yeah, sure.
Right,
Yeah.
but the
like
thing,
the Mankind gimmick,
right, and they all got pushes, didn't they?
Totally, but he was able to pivot.
Right,
and he was able to pivot, and that's in terms of uniqueness. I'm talking about a Taker, a Mankind, like overly gimmicky characters that somehow adapted. That's a small number.
Yeah.
Now I know someone who I think Mr. Tan's going to mention next in this line of thinking. So
yeah,
I kind of feel you coming on there.
Yeah. No, it's Orange Cassidy. It's been very interesting to see the way that he's been able to adapt that certain parts of his character into the more serious tone of it, while still retaining the original essence of his character and the whole slot style kicks and punches and slaps and things like that. And
King of slot, yeah.
And but at the same time, it's also with Orange, he proved that could be not just entertaining as it is, but the workhorse, and that's what I think the North American Championship. I think that's what it has truly become under Orange Cassidy. Yeah, there you go, the International Championship. There it is. Yeah,
aka the previously geographically confused belt.
Yes, that's the one. It'll be interesting to see how if Joe Hendry does get an opportunity to take this further than just Impact Wrestling, than TNA Impact Wrestling rather, is how that's going to affect his gimmick because he had to adapt from being the Weird Al of the and parroting songs like "In the Air Tonight" by Phil Collins, and they did the whole music video for it as well too. Yeah, it was great. Let's see what else. What else was a good one too? I'll figure that one out later. But now he's doing his own original tunes, which I know in certain companies, let's say AEW, Tony Khan will pay for rights in perpetuity, but then WWE, once they're out of the company, then they don't really want to use those that within the WWE network to save some sort of money or whatever like that, and or not having to keep on paying for the rights to that. So it'll be interesting if Joe Hendry does get to WWE, if and how his original music will be handled.
Now with him, I have a little more confidence in him than some people would, in terms of like, I don't really think he's as much of an oddity as people think, because he's also pretty much a regular wrestler. He's got a certain build that would fit somewhere in at least the mid card, and he can do like regular promos like anybody else, and he's pretty good he's pretty good on the stick as well. So I think he's a little more transferable that way, and he's got creative juices with the entertainment side.
Well, he may be, but it's irrelevant if the only thing he becomes branded as is this gimmick. All of his transferable skills in the world won't make a difference if he gets pasted as the parody guy.
Right. And if it doesn't work, because
or even if it does, but it eventually will peter. They all do.
Yeah.
It's just
it's a
fine balance.
I'm not 100% confident he'll make it to the big time, but I think he's got some potential, and I'm hoping that he has a chance to, just because I really feel that he's a creative dude. And if nothing else, maybe he inherits the baton from Def Rebel and makes better theme music.
My argument, though, to be clear, has nothing to do with whether or not he goes to WWE. I'm talking in general. No matter what, any wrestler who's going to be known as a gimmick, that's going to backfire on them probably at some point.
Right? I mean, I've been very outspoken on the show about Danhausen. I am not a fan of any of it. I don't see the hype around Danhausen. I never saw why this character pops or whatever. It's not just because it's super gimmicky. It's just because I don't really see much with it. And I know that if I were to see Danhausen, like if the makeup comes off for Danhausen and they try to flip him around, I just don't know if it works, because everybody knows him as the painted guy that just likes to curse people around or whatever it is.
And collect teeth. Yep.
Okay, but like the point is, it's like it's a gimmick. Like it's gimmicks like that I think that just are so overexposed that it may not hit. And again, like, look, this is going to be maybe a little bit controversial to say, but that's what a lot of people were feeling about the Fiend with the title at the end of the day, because they were worried about like the gimmick surpassing us, especially with I probably with a title. Without a title, I think the gimmick would have been fine, but with that character with the title, all of a sudden it just felt too super gimmicky. Then it's like, what's your escape plan for this? And I think that's what you don't want maybe happen to Joe Hendry or to a Danhausen. Is like, where do you go from here now that you've been in this position? So it depends on the gimmick and how it's portrayed. But right now, again, like examples like Danhausen, to me, I am not gonna shed a tear if the character ceases to exist over the next like week or so.
I think Danhausen, unfortunately, because I have been a fan, he's become a bit of a cautionary tale, I think, for relying on gimmicks. Having said that, the thing I loved about Danhausen was how organic his following was.
I'll give him that. Yeah, like, it's true. It's true.
In this landscape, to be able to do that, that's a great model. And I think that's one of the things I said in the beginning about him, was what a great model of a wrestling star it is, where you're building from the ground up. The problem is, and we all kind of felt like, what happens now, once he's in there? And evidently not much.
I will lay
yeah.
part of the blame on TK not knowing how to book storylines, and he's more of a dream
For
match.
sure. And I said that. I
It's
said
just
he
part
would
of
have been better.
it.
It's part, but it's not a small part of it, because I said that too. Again, not to dwell on Danhausen, but I said it's the wrong sign. It's the wrong company for him.
Yeah.
A character like that had no business in AEW
sports
or
scene.
now.
Well, first of all, when John and I get to that episode on Ringside Heat way back, we'll discuss it for the detail, because I don't know when that is, but it'll
What
be
is
there
that one?
eventually.
It'll
That's
be a
right.
while.
It is coming up in the circulation.
Oh,
yeah.
fantastic. Number two.
Yeah.
I think also as well, it also depends on where the person is exposed to, because sometimes like super gimmicks only work in the indies. Right.
True.
They only
Yeah.
work like in a
Yeah.
non-mainstream situation, because they're able to really be free with their character, really be free to kind of like test the waters, right? But the problem is, if it doesn't translate to mainstream and then that's all they got, that's the problem.
One of the things, Jose, to build on that with the value of it in the indies is you don't risk overexposure,
Yes.
right? Just the scheduling alone, but also it's more territorial now than it ever was, and these guys are moving around a bit. You're not on TV, you're not there for the world to see and get bored of, and I think that's why it does make sense in the indie market a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ringside Heat on Newstalk Saga 960 AM. We're going to take a break over here, but I do want to rebound off of an idea I heard earlier about just the way things translate from one area to another. And this is this happens to be with the comments of Jimmy Smith regarding Ronda Rousey, and the way that the interview that Ronda Rousey gave a few weeks ago, or recently rather, and how the response to that has been, and just the issues when it comes to that. We'll be back after these promotional considerations. Welcome back to Ringside Heat on News Talk Saga 960 AM on YouTube and on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Lex Tan at Lex Tan Media, and of course you can follow the show at Ringside_Heat on all social media. We've got Jose, we've got Chico, we've got John, and you know what? You like our content, you like what we do, buy us a coffee. ko.fi/ringside_heat. Now, what we're gonna discuss here in this final block of this hour, we have, a response from Jimmy Smith about Ronda Rousey's comments about WWE and the way she viewed her time over there, and Jimmy Smith ripped into her. Now, if you haven't heard what Ronda Rousey has been saying, she basically called WWE an S show, and basically this autobiography that's coming out as well too. She's she's ready to expose what's happened, what she experienced behind the scenes and everything, and that are things that have also happened or like said have happened, and a lot of shenanigans happening over here. So a lot of controversial things that have been said, especially with this interview that also came out just very recently. But Jimmy Smith basically said that on Unlocking the Cage on Sirius XM, Jimmy Smith said, let me let you in on something. Ronda, if you're listening, the people behind the scenes, camera people, audio people, the people you can push around and bully and talk down to, can't stand you, basically. She said that, and he claims that Ronda was not good to him and people backstage from the moment she sat down and to the moment she got up. It's apparently, he says, it's our fault she has to do this interview to hype her next fight, and she's just miserable that she's mean to us and we can't stand her. And he also mentioned that many in UFC were glad when she decided to pack it in because they didn't have to deal with her attitude any longer. And It's very interesting to see because from what I remembered from WWE programming, it seemed like that Ronda Rousey, when she got to WWE, it seemed like she was really trying her best to really fit in and to really do the work in order to become a wrestler. But it sort of kind of was okay for a while. It seemed to be okay for a while with the roster, with the WWE, and with what was happening with her. But then it got to a point where it just dropped off, and it almost confused me a little bit because was it creative's fault? Who was it? The women that she was wrestling? Was it the the fact that like there was a botch of a fall, I believe, at her when she lost the title? I don't know, but apparently now that Ronda Rousey has been bad mouthing WWE and things that have been happening backstage with her time there, and now Jimmy Smith's coming out and saying that it's actually Ronda was the I guess, for lack of a better term, toxic person in the room. It's just a lot of I guess, hearsay and a lot of things going on right now, and I personally don't know what to think of it. But if things that Ronda said were actually the way, if the complaints that she had were true, then it's a sad thing to see and sad thing to hear, but it's also not. It doesn't seem like it's representing of what the company is at right now, especially with guys like CM Punk coming back and saying this is a great place to be.
It's a weird situation.
Very.
Because
agreed.
Yeah, obviously it's kind of known that WWE wasn't in the best states under Vince McMahon.
Yes.
Right.
Not
Which
always.
is,
I mean,
sure,
you
if you
are-
want to,
yeah.
sure, if you want to go up to bat, but I just feel like just a general consensus of how it was back then, and obviously it's night and day with Triple H's regime. So from that perspective, I kind of not. Well, I don't know if I really want to play devil's advocate in the sense of like what it was like backstage. That said,
None of us know actually, but
right.
Yeah. No.
That said, this woman was given the world in WWE.
yes,
She
I agree.
came in not even growing up in the system. And for the love of God, she got a WrestleMania main event that somebody like Sasha, that somebody like Bailey were dying to be in. That WrestleMania, Sasha and Bailey were in a fatal 4-way tag team match for the women's tag team championship, which they lost to the Iconics. Right?
Oh,
They
boy.
lost to the Iconics.
That's right. That's right.
I would know. And where was Ronda that night? Coming out to Joan Jett in a live performance of her theme song in the main event of WrestleMania 35. Like in the WWE, and maybe even wrestling in general, that is such a high spot to get. That may be the spot for a lot of talent who dream of becoming wrestlers one day, to be in the main event of WrestleMania. Whether
There's nothing bigger.
Nothing bigger. But there's other companies or not, that is your destination. That is your goal. And she got it in less than 2 years of being in WWE. I think maybe just over a year, because she debuted February. Sorry, she debuted January at the Royal Rumble, which I remember seeing that in person. So January 2018, the Royal Rumble, had her first match at WrestleMania 34. The next year, she's in the main event. And those are all the comments that you're going to say. Throw me a bone. Throw me a bone. That's insane.
Yeah, this is one of those situations that I'm like, I don't understand how we got here, because this, in my mind, this should have worked. I mean, not to say that somebody in UFC, we've seen examples of it working and not working.
Sure.
So there was no lock, no guarantee that she was ever going to go over, but the timing felt so perfect given the push the women's division was getting at the time.
Oh, yeah.
The establishment of it. It was just like you couldn't ask for a better moment than to bring a Ronda Rousey in.
Yeah.
And
her first run was pretty good. It's decent.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, is that I think part of what this starts to sound a little bit like is I think there's some sour grapes there.
I was just
This,
gonna say that phrase, man.
you know what I'm saying? Like I think she just got a little tick that people didn't love her as much as she maybe thought they should, and maybe she thought she was
I
gonna adapt to this a little better than she did.
But it's funny because I thought she did. I remember being so impressed at that WrestleMania 34 match with Triple H, Stephanie, and Kurt Angle. I was going, hot damn, this is gonna work.
Yeah.
Right? This is gonna
Yeah.
work. But then the promo work came in and we're like, okay, well, this is a little bit concerned
Yeah,
here. And
there's growth to be had.
I think as well, unfortunately, I don't know if you want to say fortunately or unfortunately, Becky just soared with the way that she did that her only conclusion was to win those titles at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And she did, of
Yeah.
course. So I don't know if maybe like to go to John's point, if it's like Ronda just maybe like kind of got a little bit upset that's what ended up happening, that it's just the natural progression of Becky just kind of like made her a little bit
Speaking
upset.
speaking of Becky, I listened to an interview where she talked about Ronda Rousey and what kind of went off the rails. And she gave a pretty interesting answer. She said it worked so well at that WrestleMania event that you're talking about, Jose, with Kurt Angle, Triple H, Stephanie. It
Mhm.
worked so well that I think behind the scenes, suddenly they're just letting her have the keys to the kingdom.
Yeah.
So there wasn't much of a, let's guide her to be a more seasoned pro wrestler, like a complete performer. It was like it worked so well that they kind of just let her more so figure it out on her own. And I think that wasn't really too fair to anyone, because then there wasn't much growth happening. It's, that's what I think Becky was alluding to when she answered those questions. So
Can I say though? I'll say this: that was the right call to give her the keys. I would have done it as well, easily.
but I think that you can do that while kind of like still because there's people that even she would have to recognize have a way better grasp on this than she did,
Sure.
right?
Oh, excuse me.
To
Sure.
kind of like actually guide her along more closely and be more of like constructive tips instead of
Right.
just letting her figure it out on her own. Not fair to her either, to be honest with you.
And we'll get more into that after we have to sign up from the radio side of things over here. Thank you so much for listening to us on our 3rd year anniversary episode of Ringside Heat. And we'll be talking about this a little bit more on the video and Spotify podcast as well. So please tune into that. Spotify will be up on your playlist at 8 o'clock. Sharp, just after this show ends on Sauga 960, but then we'll also have the YouTube video podcast up starting at 7 o'clock Monday evening, just before Raw. Thank you so much to Jose. Thank you so much to Chico. Thank you so much to John. And thank you so much to Sauga 960. Thank you so much to you for tuning in and listening to us. My name is Lex Tan, and you're listening to Ringside Heat. We remember the things you probably forgot. And welcome back to Ringside Heat on YouTube and on Spotify and your favorite podcatchers. My name is Lex Tan. I'm alongside Jose at Taboada 93, Chico at Coco Collects, and John at John Dawson Music. And we're talking about Ronda Rousey and the sour grapes comments, I guess you could say that, from that she made toward WWE and Jimmy Smith's, I guess, rebuttal to that. So, Jose, you wanted to get to something before we had to sign off on the air on Sauga 960 AM. So I'm going to give you the floor right now.
What I was saying was that I thought giving her the keys made a lot of sense because all eyes were on her. She impressed everybody. She connected with the fans really, really, really well, and I can't blame WWE for making that decision. Yes, sure, there could have been the hybrid of guide her along the way, but this is also an experienced fighter. This is also an experienced individual who knows like the grind, who knows like the taunts, the character work and all that. It
lifelong
made
fan.
sense.
Yeah,
it made sense. It made sense to say, okay, have fun. But
and you know what? I will say too that again, like I was just interjecting with John there. The first run was pretty good. Like it had a lot of good points. It also led to the first all women's WWE Premium Live event in Evolution, and that was a good show.
Very good show, actually. Yeah.
And then there's a lot of like little high points too, like Royal Rumble. It was Ronda Rousey versus Sasha Banks, banger of a match. Like really good. One of my highlights of the whole night. I mean, so there were many. Of course, Charlotte Flair. I don't think she knows how to have a bad match. So she carried Ronda through a few of those too. I guess I would assume that was the case for at least some of it. So yeah, I think it could just be chalked up to sour grapes. Unfortunately, man, Ronda's second run was just so boring, and it just led to nothing.
It's unfortunate. Like it's not like obviously the like you can't blame her for the time off. She started a family, and that's obviously priority and everything. So I don't think it does make me wonder. Like was it like just because of how long she was away from the game? Was it just like the new maybe the current like the current landscape of the women's division? It doesn't make sense.
And in general, speaking of that, the landscape of the women's division, it like improved so much. The athleticism, the storytelling acumen, like everything. Like these days, there's more of them that have a lot of aptitude.
And don't
Kind of
forget,
scary how much.
Don't forget, she won a Rumble.
Yeah.
She won a Rumble on that return. Was that her return? That Rumble?
Yes.
Right, and then she won it like,
late, didn't she? And then she won it.
The late entry then won the Rumble. So it's surprising. I don't know if maybe the fans had a play in there. I have no idea. John?
I wonder. Ronda is an interesting problem to be solved because we know the baddest woman on the planet, all that stuff. Very, very similar to the kind of way we saw Ken Shamrock framed back in the Attitude Era. This guy was a machine. These guys and girls have, I think, a lower ceiling of success because what do you do with that? How do you make the unbeatable beatable and then keep them believable? Right?
Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar. Like these are problems in booking because you have to create a point where Ronda can take a loss and recover from it. But in her, I think the character of Ronda Rousey was this like, oh my God, she's just going to smoke everybody. Okay, well then you smoke everybody. This is it. We've seen it a million times in different scenarios. But Ronda, for all of, just because you listen to a lot of music doesn't mean you can play. Right. She's in there and she's watched it and she's seen it. She understands it. But, I didn't see any adaptation. I didn't see any growth. Right. I didn't see any other than her coming in, giving a vicious armbar and, bad promos.
Which is only one of 1,004 holds as we come to
as we learned, yes. As we learned, yes.
Yeah, there's so many more holds to learn. Like the Moss covered three-handed family credenza.
He was on such a good point, Chico. He was cruising, Chico. He was cruising.
Yeah, it was.
But here's the thing too, is like to I guess go off what Chico was saying is that maybe it got to a point where Ronda just the cracks were shown in terms of her actual ability to be a complete wrestler and a wrestler, because you can't just be the wrestler in the ring, especially in WWE. You've got to be a wrestler. You have to be the character as well.
You have to be an entertainer.
You have to be the entertainer side of it, exactly. And and maybe there's a part of me that feels that like that because Ronda was given the keys to the kingdom, and you could say rightfully so, Jose. At the same time, I think that giving the keys to the kingdom that early, and yes, it really does take advantage and capitalizes on certain things, but only in the short term, where maybe if they did things all over again, maybe she would have started over in NXT. Maybe she would have gotten that complete
hard pass on NXT for her.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that like here's the thing. If it is NXT is too small for somebody like a Ronda Rousey. There are a lot of things in NXT that you get taught over there, as far as it seems to me, that makes for better professional wrestlers, sports entertainers, what have you, going forward in the things that you may not you may not be as privy to when you're already wrestling with everybody else on the roster. And it's possible that maybe she had to step back and get that I guess that training and that kind of exposure in that sort of way to the finer points that maybe she didn't get. And as a result, maybe the fans didn't take to her because she just got left behind by everybody else who's been doing this longer and better.
John?
Is there a scenario where she was never going to develop, that this was a crossover grab? They didn't care for long term. It's like they got the eyes they needed. They got the attention. It didn't matter. Here's the keys to the kingdom. We're not going to build you. You're not going to die. Or at least if you want it, sure, but we don't really care because our goal's been achieved.
Yeah, and
They
was she
didn't
the
need.
Kawhi Leonard of the women's division? She just got them to the promised land.
what?
I don't
No,
know.
no.
Was Kawhi Leonard?
No,
I don't
oh
remember
my God.
Kawhi Leonard.
No, look, to John's point, that's what I was gonna say. To John's point, one, she's such a well-established name. Like, no, NXT was never ever gonna be an option.
Never.
It was never gonna be an option. And again, I guess like we said, like I would have handed the keys as well. Was it the right decision in hindsight? Probably not. But that's my mindset. That's where my mind goes anyways, because she's already such a well-established name. Shayna Baszler wasn't a well-established name. I forgot the other NXT UFC superstars that were mixed in with Shayna, but
Yeah. Oh, the four horsewomen.
the
other
four
two were
horsewomen, right? Well,
Marina
not
Shafir and
thank you.
Jessamine Duke.
Something I believe so. You're
Those
right. Thank
two.
you.
Yeah.
But the point is, like, Ronda was too big of a name. So one, you go over there. Two, then this is where I go to Chico's point, and we're saying that yes, there should have been that hybrid mentor in the middle of the run. Whether there was or not, we'll never know. But
Yeah.
there should have been that mentor along the way to help her again.
Natty may have been that person. Who knows?
That's what it seemed like to me. Natty, it
seemed like it to
it
me
seemed like it
too.
was Natty.
But
That's right.
I feel like the Chico's point as well, looking like, and to your point, Lex, that you wanted those other names in there other than just Natalia, right?
Right.
Again, like I think to kind of like to mix both Chico and Lex's points together, I think maybe there probably should have been like a hybrid little mentor that kind of gives them the NXT tropes on the main level, kind of like a crash course kind of
Right.
thing. But no,
Like,
NXT was
wonder if
never going to be a
yeah, never.
destination.
I wonder
Ever.
I wonder if Fit Finley had any hand in her like development as a performer, because I
Maybe.
hear that the success rate with him mentoring, I mean, we've seen proof of it.
Mhm.
You know, he's the one of any male names that I've heard women credit in revolutionizing women's wrestling and helping it along. It's Fit Finley, and these days it's Tyson Kidd, TJ Wilson. But I mean, I wonder if there was like a Fit Finley that would have been, had his hand in the pot there, in terms of like helping Ronda. I guess these are all hindsight things. Like
Yeah,
unless,
so much of that's speculative, but
yeah, unless Ronda can come to a point where she has peace with WWE again and she wants to try one more time to contribute to the industry and be open
Doubt it.
to instruction. Yeah, I doubt it too.
No, the way that she's been composing herself in the media as of late, and with whatever this memoir, whatever that's coming out soon, I think that's it. I think the ship's on. And to be honest,
She's burning the bridge. Yeah.
I think even before all this came out, fans were done anyway as well. So
I'm
Yeah.
done. I'll be honest.
I don't
I
need
get
it.
from Shayna Baszler everything I want from Ronda Rousey. Plus, I think a much better in ring and overall wrestling personality.
yeah,
Yes.
In much respect, Shayna has
and-
picked up
and-
the craft.
She's she's the example that I look at as a great success story in that transition. I don't need Ronda. Ronda to me was a pop. I remember seeing her in the crowd there and Rock fist bumping her and all that. I was like, whoa, this is huge. But I've been watching wrestling a long time too, and nothing in that character stuck with me. Nothing. Luke loves him. My son, for some reason, she loves her. He got an action figure of Ronda Rousey. He just went through this big Ronda Rousey phase. Not sure what happened, but there it was. So, I mean, I can't say she didn't resonate at all. It's just it didn't click with me.
And look, as somebody that saw Ronda's debut in person, saw the WrestleMania main event in person, it was fun. It was crazy. Again, it's Ronda freaking Rousey, right? But again, like after even for me, after that WrestleMania, once Becky's
Ooh.
moment began, right? And to me, it's like, okay, I think we did all that we could with Ronda. Even at that point, I was saying, I think what else could we do with Ronda? Because
right
again,
at the end of 35.
at the end of 35, I'm like, Ronda did her job.
Yeah, and it's
the name was pushed. She got eyes on the product. It was entertaining, but at the end of the day, we're gonna obviously and rightfully so, you have to continue with your future with a wrestling grown individual, and that was clearly Becky Lynch, and she did that. So
Well, and the rowdy Ronda personality always bothered me, and I was never a fan of that.
really,
I didn't like the remade Hot Rod stuff. Um, yeah, I didn't like it. I get why she did it, but I'm just like,
get your own shtick.
yeah, like don't do. There's
Yeah.
like you didn't
It was
need
a copy.
But she didn't even. But to me, she didn't even embody the ideas and the character of Rowdy Piper.
Great
I mean,
point.
who could though?
Great
That's the
point.
thing.
Just wore the
But
clothes.
great point. If you're gonna, I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump in, but I love what you just said there, man. Because if you're gonna pick one guy to model and you can't kill it in a promo,
Mhm.
you look even worse.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Like that's
She couldn't help but like kind of eat her words when she delivers promos. Like that bothered me. I mean, I could nitpick many things about the way she was like outside of wrestling matches. Yeah, no, I was done. I was more than content after that first run. When she went off to have babies on the
yeah, I didn't
on the farm or whatever, like I was okay with her retiring permanently.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, cool, she's back. I hope she does something good and she improved, but unfortunately, just went down.
She can kill me very quickly. So I want to end this conversation for me by saying, Rhonda, if you want to come back, please do, and I'll pay lots of money. Buy all your merch.
Taken.
Yeah.
Point taken.
Yeah.
My arm is gonna get ripped out of its socket now.
Oh, she would end it quickly or slowly, depending on what mood she was in. So
That's true.
You do whatever you want, Rhonda, and maybe you're right about everything, and I'm just an idiot. So.
Well, you know what? It is an interesting conundrum that it is in right now, especially with Ronda saying one thing and other people saying other things. Plus, WWE being where they are right now. It is as opposed to before. It's an interesting conversation, and no doubt we'll be seeing a lot more about these details and things that might come up when this Netflix thing comes out with Ronda Rousey and with this the whole autobiography thing.
Be if.
Yep. And here's the thing. When I look at when I look at that, yes, on one end, sour grapes, and the other part of it is yes, we've really kind of like delved deeper into that, and maybe it isn't. Maybe it's not even as deep as that as we've delved into. Maybe maybe it isn't. Maybe it is really just sour grapes or something like that. But I just do have I do have to say though that if it really is sour grapes, why? Really,
why now?
really, why now? What's the point of it? It just speaks to another the thing that I was been complaining over the past few weeks about what Tony Khan had said in his attacks to WWE. It sounds very entitled. It sounds very whiny, doubling down on just the vitriol and yes, you want to tell your story. You have every right to tell your story. You have every right to be able to say things that you want to say, incorrect or correct as they may be. At the same time, it's like, yes, controversy creates cash, but sometimes you don't need the controversy, maybe or maybe not. I don't know. It's a very complicated web that's being woven right now.
Let's just not like ever mention any disgraced Hollywood personalities in relation to pro wrestling. That was just the worst. I didn't listen to the episode, unfortunately, where you ranted on that, but
What?
let's just avoid that in the future. I hope that that never happens again.
Yeah, unnecessary, and just it's does not bring about the best of what pro wrestling can be, because you know what, it's like, as I said, pro wrestling is beautiful. Pro wrestling is an art. Pro wrestling can be so many great things about it. There are a lot of bad things that happen about, but that's just that's just anything. That's just anything in life. There's, even in the best families, there is, there is gunk in the best families as well too, and same thing over here. And I guess we all just have to deal with it and figure out a way to move forward and think about the next topics that we will be talking about next time we come back for more Ringside Heat on Sauga 960 AM, and as well on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, as well on YouTube. Remember, you can tune in on Sauga 960 to listen to the radio version Sundays at 7 o'clock and Tuesdays at 9 o'clock. That's in the evenings, and as well the Spotify podcast and your other favorite podcasters. It drops the episode. We drop the episode at 8 o'clock on Sunday nights and 7 o'clock on Monday nights, rather, just before Raw. That's when the video podcast comes out as well. So thank you very much to John, to Chico, to Jose. Thank you very much for listening and tuning in and clicking on the podcast. And this is Ringside Heat. We remember the things you probably forgot.